Hello, my name is Damian Mills, and I'm a researcher at Queen's University Belfast for the research group Performance Without Barriers. Founded in 2015, it is a partnership between the Sonic Arts Research Centre and Drake Music Northern Ireland, who exist to assist people of all abilities with the opportunity to independently compose and perform music using computer technology. My study incorporates the latest of those technologies, that of immersive systems, virtual reality, extended reality, and so on. The origin for this research began in 2018 with a project called Immerse that integrated virtual reality musical instruments into an improvisation ensemble. 6 months of designing within a VR program called EXA, the Infinite Instrument, for musician Mary Louise McCord, the project showed potential for specific sound triggers to be spatially organized according to the specific gestural range Mary Louise had. The instrument was performed in unmodified ways to avoid the disabling attributes the VR system presented, specifically the interpersonal communication and the ergonomics of the system itself. Though a successful music event, we had to adapt our musician to the system, and the process was highly facilitated. Mary Louise found the whole process motivating and exciting, and as a result was invited in 2019 to Hamburg and Bern to showcase this work. Accessibility is at the core of my research, a sentiment shared with many community musicians, and I am part of a subset of community musicians called an accessible music tutor. Accessibility at its core is a facilitated process, a relationship between the disabled musician, the access music tutor, and the musical instruments and music technology we employ. Access music tutors face their own access barriers to collaborative music making that come in the form of financial resources for the equipment, knowledges, and skills needed to employ novel equipment and time needed to pull all this together into a musical workshop format. Using immersive technology for bespoke instrument making is quite costly in terms of these resources, specifically in acquiring knowledge and time, and I am fortunate in having the support of Drake Music and Queen's University in this process. The Oculus Quest was released 2 weeks into my research tenure, and the system, with its hand recognition, free from any connection via wires, and supported by freely accessible development software, seemed like a good place to start designing accessibility into musical instruments. The novel affordances serendipitously aligned with the research Alex Wong in 2017 had conducted in reference to the access needs self-identified disabled VR system users had indicated as being disabling attributes of VR systems at that time. My first research question formed into how does a musician acquire a musical instrument in virtual reality? The system must adapt to the musician. As music facilitators, we often place instruments in front of people with limited movement range, but VR instruments are made of light, can be moved around with proxy controls, and there was potential to research other methods to center control. 3 musicians of the inclusive music group, the Wired Ensemble, took part in a technology probe for 1 session a week for 5 weeks in the summer of 2021 for a real-world testing of prototype VR musical instruments in a music workshop setting. We used an Oculus Quest 2 suspended over a table due to the recent global pandemic social distancing rules, and tested for hand recognition and surface placement testing 2 premises that any instrument should move to a musician's preferred place and that a table could assist in signal gestures and musical gestural control. Musicians indicated where on a table they would, with their index finger, they would like an instrument to be placed, and the facilitator executed a key press to snap the instrument to that location. The threshold of accessibility was directed by the quality of hand recognition of atypical hands by the system's onboard cameras. 2 musicians from 3 were able to call the instruments, though just 1 participant continued to the second part of this research. And yes, that musician was Mary Louise. Participatory design methods were chosen to bring unique knowledges to a design group. With that in mind, I introduced the VR systems into an 8-week community music workshop series with participants from Brain Injury Matters, a charity that works with people with acquired brain injury. 2 participants elected to continue a participatory design process of designing virtual musical environments according to their needs. The 3 participants above represented a small fraction of the access needs that can be catered for using universal design practice. Our collaborative and ability-led design approach over 2 years has examined the affordances of role of hand recognition technology, the use of physical environment to augment human-computer interactions, the needs of controlling multi-musical interface layouts, the role of musical gestures and simulated haptic feedback play, the design requirements for one-handed musicians, the use of alternative control methods and the role of musical signifiers, the importances of shared knowledges and the value of shared perspectives. We are also examining the enabling factors of XR that allows musicians to see each other while wearing their headsets, though development for XR has its own challenges as the facilitator is removed from any direct monitoring of the virtual environment as you would do in the game engine Unity, and from direct video analysis of musicians' perspectives. It has also identified the disabling attributes of immersive technology. Developers find it difficult to meet the demands of atypical physiologies, mainly because the tools they design with have been driven by the ergonomic design preconceptions of hardware manufacturers, who have, up until this point, passed the onus of inclusive content to application developers. It is inherently enablest, and current systems depend on facilitation. Exactly how to balance power towards agency for the disabled musician is where future research will be needed. The wearable technology of VR is a very personal experience. The technology maps to our ergonomics and fools our senses, creating a believable experience. And to design musical instruments in virtual reality is now extended reality, where the virtual world is presented alongside the physical world, is highly dynamic and rapidly progressing technology. Developers are also dependent on the system they adopt through developments in open source OpenXR technology are soon catching up with proprietary software development kits. Our findings in this research show that when a musician is matched to this technology and when there is adequate support for the development process, there is potential for musicians to gain agency through a process of shared knowledge and shared explorations. Understanding and personalizing their own musical environment, perceiving affordances, uncovering hidden affordances, though the development and coding for new affordances on top of old designs can be more complicated than a pre-planned approach. We find the quickly adaptable, visual, iterative processes of participatory design using VR is engaging and motivating for musicians and the wider network of stakeholders. Thank you.